What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Phaithful Fanatics special edition pregame show for Flyers Islanders Game 7 tonight at 7:30. George, I'm here with my man George, and we are going to be joined by 97.5 Jason Myretetus, Mr. Flyer himself, coming up soon. So you have that to look forward to. George, how are we feeling today going into Game 7?
All types of emotions. I mean, Game 7 is the best two words in sports. It's gonna be a dogfight. It's gonna be scary. It's gonna keep everyone on the edge of their seat their whole game. I'm really nervous. That's my biggest emotion right now. I'm nervous as hell.
Me too, man. Game 5, Game 6. I couldn't even take. It gets to the point with me where I'm trying not to allow the heartbreak. So The Flyers go up, and obviously I'm going nuts. And then as soon as the Flyers blow a lead, I'm just like, here we go. And I try not to allow myself to get heartbroken. And sorry, just reaching out to him real quick before.
The one thing about this team is they're not going to roll over and die, and we've seen that.
Right.
Like if you asked us like in the beginning of this year, would you take a round 2 Game 7 exit? It's like, wow, it's a big step forward from what we're used to. But now that we're here and the expectations are as high as ever, I just want to win. That's a
one seed. Whether it's a weird year and the 1 seed, they wouldn't have been a normal 1 seed. Doesn't matter. They are the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. So here's where I'm at right now going into Game 7. I'm going to be all of us are going to be heartbroken if they lose this game.
Mm-hmm.
But with that said, win or lose, this team showed a lot of character and a lot of fight.
Yeah,
And where I'm at also is if they win this series, I think they go to the Stanley Cup Finals. I do. But if they do not and they lose to Tampa Bay next round in the Eastern Conference Finals, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay with this young AV's first year, an extremely young team going to the Eastern Conference Finals. But here is Jason Myretetus. I'm going to bring him on now. Yo.
Let there be light. I gotta get the right lighting, man.
You look good. Jason Myretetus, everybody, you can catch him on 97.5 The Fanatic. He's the host of the Flyers Daily Podcast and the Flyers Fix Podcast. You just got done a show, right?
Yep. Yeah, I just got back. I was up at Parks Casino up in the Northeast and did a little radio show, a little home talking with you boys, little chill, shit shower and shave, and we'll get ready for Game 7.
Yeah. So here it is, man. I guess, as cliche as it sounds, we've been on my podcast, our podcast called The Phaithful Fanatics, the last week, and we've been saying, as cliche as it does sound, it's got to be one game at a time with this team mentality with this team after going down 3-1. And now here we are. They win Game 5. They win Game 6. You have Game 7 tonight. But it hasn't been pretty, and it doesn't have to be pretty. But it seems like the Flyers, for most part of the series, have been outplayed. So with that being said, with the way they've played, with the way the Flyers were playing through the first 4 games, how confident or maybe how surprised were you that we're here tonight having a Game 7?
I'm a little surprised that they were able to force a Game 7 because of the circumstances. And I always kind of look at like the human nature element of all this stuff. So what I look at is, these guys have been away from their families, their pets, their girlfriends, their wives, whatever, haven't slept in their own bed in now like almost 50 days or whatever it is. And when you go down 3-1 in a series, it takes a special group just to be able to come back from that in normal circumstances. And in those normal circumstances, you also have changes of venue with home games or road games. And at home, you can go, okay, we're going to use our crowd to give us what we need. And when we go on the road, we're going to go us against the world. So let's go out and just throw it at them. But none of those things exist here. And the sheer numbers of it, when you go down 3-1, the team that goes up 3-1 traditionally has gone on to win those series 9 out of 10 times, 90.7% of the time. So, and players are aware how difficult it is. So it would have been easy to just kind of, all right, we're down 3-1. This is a unique circumstance. Let's get home, whatever. Let's go out and play as hard as we can. If we win, we win. But to go to that next level and, do what it takes getting down, being up in a game and then being down in a game, being down heading into a third period and then forcing overtime, to do all those things didn't seem likely to me because of the human nature element of this. You almost reside yourself like, we're going to lose anyway. We might as well just go home. And maybe game 5, you have pride. And game 6, it's the other team's throwing everything they can at you because they don't want a game 7, because we all know anything can happen in a 7. But for some reason, this team, from the leadership group, the resiliency, the identity of the team, really since Alain Vigneault's kind of system and mentality took over, was able to provide them with this, hey, no matter what happens, who gives a damn? We can't do anything about the past. We can only affect the future. So they've done that, and they've compartmentalized this really well and taking it one period at a time. Yeah, we got dominated in the second period in game 6. We're down a goal. We gave up a goal with 30 seconds left. Like, those are all elements of it's over, right? Because you just can't get away with those things. But then they come out in the third period. They play pretty damn well in that third period. Drew makes a great little chip play to Lawton, who absolutely undresses Varlamov and buries. They clamp it down. You get great goaltending. You get to overtime and then double overtime. The first overtime wasn't great. The second one was fantastic, and they looked as they frankly didn't look nearly as tired as the Isles were in a physical game with over 70 hits each side, and they win a game. And I tell you, it's kind of shocking to me because I wasn't expecting it, but it really does speak to the leadership and the determination of the group and the urgency and everything that they played with. And that should never be a question going forward about the leadership and the character of these guys. I know people in game, they get the momentum swing and they're like, oh, they got no leadership. There's no pride out there. Come on. There's 2 teams out there playing. They're not playing the Washington Generals. They're not the Globetrotters. They're not there for you to beat up on them. There's another team with a lot of pride and a lot of, they want to move on in the playoffs too. But I've been really impressed with the way they've handled this situation. And, you might as well see it through tonight. You might as well head to Edmonton tomorrow.
Yeah, going off of that real quick before I throw it to George, is the fact that another surprising thing to me, and speaking to the leadership, is that they've blown multiple goal leads in their 3 wins. And I think it speaks highly of Alain Vigneault, even though I don't think he's coached his best hockey this series necessarily. But to get them to overtime, blowing 2+ goal leads in their 3 wins and saying, hey, it doesn't matter. We're in overtime. It doesn't matter how we got here. If we blew the lead or if we came back from a deficit, we're here now. And they just completely come out, refocused and regrouped. And my hat's off to Alain Vigneault this series.
Yeah, well, that wasn't something that happened overnight. That's a byproduct of the accountability, the level of demand on what each player is capable of to play to your peak of that. And look, even when it doesn't go your way, it doesn't mean you abandon the process and you abandon your DNA as a team or your identity. And Alain did a really good job with that. That's the thing that is the most changed for me year to year, where they went from a team under Hackstall and Scott Gordon, where they had 82 points, and then they improved by 7 points a year later to go to 89 points, but in 13 less games, and not lose back-to-back games since January, all that stuff. I mean, the other thing they've overcome in those games, too, where they've blown leads to win all these games and they've won them all in overtime, is they've also overcome a blown challenge on a goal. I mean, that's another common thread, which, and as you said, like, Alain hasn't had his best series. And I understood the first 2 challenges. The third one, I didn't get that one. To me, out of all of them, if you want to go by the letter of the rule, the first one that he challenged with the offside entry on that goal, okay, that's okay. Didn't deserve to win that one. The second one, though, with Barzal in the crease, I don't care how he got there. When he stood up, regained his footing, puck was behind the net. He showed no desire to get his ass out of the crease, showed no effort to do so, leaned on the post, grabbed Provorov's stick. That should not have been a goal. But the one in game 6, Alain explained after that there was an angle that he didn't see that would have clearly shown Braun tripped Cizikas. But you got to be careful at that point. Just take your medicine, take the 2-2 game. Don't put them back on the power play, especially at that point in the game when they had so much momentum early in the second period. Then they end up scoring a 320 on the power play goal. And now you're down in the game. But again, they show this resiliency to get back up. And like I think the real important thing that you said is, no matter what's happened, we blew a 2-goal lead in this game or whatever, and then we get it to overtime. We find a way to win. They're able to park it and go, okay, it's not about the 60 minutes that happened, the 2-goal lead or the 2 goals in the first that we scored or the 3-1 point in the game. It's about what can we do going forward. And, that's a message that this coaching staff has kind of, reiterated a lot through this year. It's control the controllable. And like I talk about it with Carter Hart all the time. There's things that you can't control in a game. And if you let those things that happen prior in a game or prior in a series or whatever affect you, then you're not controlling the controllable. By controlling the controllable, you just park all that stuff. You compartmentalize it. There'll be a time to reflect on it later, but not when there's still a task at hand and the outcome of the game is still in question. So they've done a great job with that. And I think that's a big part of the psychology of Alain Vigneault as well. It's why he's come back and down 3-1 in series twice before, back in 14 and 2015.
Yeah, Jason, if there's one thing we've seen this series, it's that the Islanders are going to score. They scored 3+ goals in all 6 games this series. And the one reason why we're in Game 7 is Carter Hart, the kid. Do you expect him to have to steal a game tonight, or do you think the offense can finally step up, maybe even on the power play, and give him some help?
It's a great question. I don't know. I wish I had the answer. I need a crystal ball. I'd be Nostradamus. This power play, it defies logic. There was a pretty good power play all season long. Now they just never got into a rhythm, and you don't have a tremendous amount of practice time to work on it and certainly change your approach. But I mean, at this point, why not change the approach or personnel? I'd like to see him work a little bit more from down below the goal line and on the side of the net, as opposed to just working off the half wall and the high point man. As a goalie, and you look at the numbers, and they're pronounced on pucks that come from down below the goal line or behind the net. Those passes, a goalie's using. We call them windows. There's 4 windows: one outside your post, one as you're on that same post and turned, one as you come in the other post and turn, and then the other one is around that post. There's 4 windows, and the goalie's looking through those windows to track that puck, to know what side of the ice to be on. But what he can't do when that's happening, so when he's in this position, sorry, I'm off mic, but when he's in that position, he doesn't know what's moving on the front side of him.
Right.
So he takes little peeks here and there, or when he's shifting windows, he's taking peeks, but a lot changes really quick because guys are moving away from the puck. So I'd like to see him use that as an opportunity to kind of feed pucks from down low to high passes. And I think that, with the Islander goaltenders, that's a susceptible area, and it's an area that they haven't exploited in this series yet. You saw, what was the Vegas game the other day? Tremendous from behind. It was Vancouver that did it behind the net, and the guy just left all alone in the overtime winner. Mm-hmm. And boom, the guy out front, nobody picks him up. The defense are facing there too, so they don't know who's coming in. If a defenseman is activating or a winger moves into the high slot, the guy behind the net with the puck is looking at everything in front of him. So I think that would be something that they would look to exploit without changing the overall texture of the power play, but also just simplify. Get guys to the blue paint. You saw the game. The Raffle goal in Game 6, he's right on the blue paint, takes away Varlamov's eyes, and then just bangs home the rebound. And then on the game-winning goal, it was all Raffle. I mean, Provorov gets the goal. Raffle didn't get an assist or anything on it, but geez, it was a perfect screen. He's right on the edge of the crease. Varlamov moves out to him because it's easier to try and find a lane around the goalie when you get closer to the screen. And soon as Varlamov goes to his left, his glove side, to look around the screen, that's when Provorov sees the lean, shoots it to the right side of the net. He never saw the puck.
Yeah, so you mentioned changes on the power play, and I to me, it seems like one issue on the power play has been gaining zone entry and puck possession in offensive zone. Would you like to see, I guess, maybe the best player on this Flyers team at puck possession and keeping control of the puck, and Kevin Hayes bumped up to the first power play line? Yeah,
I'd be fine with that at this point. I would let him use that big body to shield. I wouldn't have him carrying the puck up per se. I would still drop it maybe to a Giroux, and then as soon as you get over the red line, make that assessment and get it to Hayes, and let him get the puck deep in the zone. We always say on power plays, like, obtain the zone, but don't just get inside the blue line. Get down to by the hash marks on the boards. Then you pull up, let everybody else come in, set up your umbrella, set up your, whatever you want to do there. I would have him as a big part of zone entries for that, for sure. And I would move him off of the half wall into the net front guy, either net front or the trigger, just so I can get him in any kind of screen or layered screen to the blue paint. I don't want him to have to come off the half wall to do that and be a finisher. If you get a POP or a puck on pad, rebound, I want him to be a guy that creates the screen and can bang rebounds and take a little bit of a beating in there as well.
Right. So going back to last game, the Flyers were without one of their power play guys and without their first line center, and Sean Couturier. I haven't seen anything. Maybe I'm wrong. What's the news, or do you expect Coots to play tonight? And if so, who's out?
We don't know any news. We don't get anything out of the bubble in that regard. They did not practice yesterday. I talked to Scott Lawton yesterday, and on today's episode of Flyers Daily, they didn't practice, but they had some group stuff that they did and some film stuff like that. But we'll find out. Watch my Twitter handle about 7:10 when they line up in the hallway at Scotiabank Arena is when I kind of get an indication who's in and who's out. I have a feed that I watch. We have as announcers, we have a program feed, it's called. And they show the guys lining up in the hallway from both teams, and that's how I'll be able to see if it's Greiss or if it's Varlamov. And Coots isn't going to take warm-ups and not play, I don't believe. So if he takes warm-ups, he'll end up taking line rushes. So we don't know if he's in or not. I don't know the extent of his injury. All I've heard is that it's not an ACL, which is good news. Okay. But that being said, if he comes in, who goes out? I don't think Farabee would come back in because I think he might be in protocol after that hit. Yeah, that's just my guess because it was a really good headshot that he took. But if Coots does come back in, I mean, I think I guess you got to consider taking out. I don't even know where you go here. It's an interesting situation. Do you take out a guy like, you're not going to take out Raffle, you don't take out Pitlick, you don't take out Nate Thompson's not coming out. Sorry, people. No, he's not coming out. He's one of your best face-off guys too.
Albay Kubel. It's
probably Albay Kubel over Grant. Although I would probably keep Albay Kubel over Grant at this point because of the way he forechecks as F1, to get in and pound on a good forecheck. So, but it probably would be Albay Kubel. Coaches love veteran players, and Grant's a vet.
Yeah, back against the wall tonight for the Islanders. It always sucks blowing a 3-1 lead. Trotz came out and he said he's going to do some lineup changes. Do you expect a goaltender change? Do you think Greiss for Game 7, or do you think he goes a different direction?
He's going to be really relying on his goalie coach for this decision too, Mitch Korn, who he brought over from the Capitals, one of the best in the business. Varlamov did not look good in those first 2 goals the other night. He really did. I think he was going to get the hook after the second goal, and I thought Trotz was going to pull him, and then he didn't. Then maybe he was going to change goalies in between periods, but then they made it 2-1, so they didn't, and they had a power play going into the second period. So, I don't think – I think that'll end up going Varlamov. I think maybe even part of the equation, even though I don't think Barry Trotz thinks this way, is that Greiss is a free agent and Varlamov is signed, and he's going to be part of that tandem with Ilya Sorokin going forward. And it's a Game 7. You got to put out your best guy, and he's their starter. And Greiss has been 1B, and he's been good when he played. But I mean, to me, in an elimination game, you have to go with your starter. I think Trotz made a strategic decision and not putting Greiss in Game 6. You put Greiss in Game 6, and if you don't you don't win, or your goalie doesn't play well, you go, okay, we still got Game 7. We're going back to our starter. But he didn't. Now Varlamov struggled a little bit in Game 6. Now is he fighting his game? And he got outdueled by Carter Hart in a big way in that game. So now do you go to I don't know. I think he'll end up going with Varlamov, though.
Yeah, so another question, sticking with the Islanders. I fully expect them to be the team that comes out within the first couple of minutes hot and heavy and controlling the tempo of the game early. So, A, how do you think the Islanders will respond after blowing the last 2 games? And B, how important are the first couple of minutes in this game?
Yeah, it's the first 10 minutes. It's like when you go on the road in the playoffs, survive the first 10 minutes, get out nothing, and then you can start to build from there and try and recapture momentum. Now, there's not a home crowd that lends to that, but I think you're right. I think they're a pissed off group right now because they missed this opportunity, and you don't want it to go to a Game 7. But I think they will come out with their hair on fire, and yeah, it's going to be really incumbent upon the Flyers to do a couple things. Not sit back and just let them come at you and just defend, but if you get a chance to get pucks deep, get them deep, all the way deep, make them go 200 feet. That's number one. Number 2, and the biggest key to this game is this for me, is zone exits. Flyers got Sanheim and Myers did not have their greatest game. Sanheim got a horrible giveaway late in the second period for that goal by Barzal. They've got to move their feet because that Islanders team buzzes on the forecheck. So to me, zone exits are key, and they got to be more cognizant of their zone exit playing into the strong side. I see too much of that, and that's creating a lot of turnovers. You're almost playing into their hands in that regard. and their D do a good job, holding, keeping the puck in the zone to keep those longer zone possession times. So to me, you got to find opportunities to wheel it to the weak side and break out that way. But zone exits will be key to that. Zone exits will be key to the game, but zone exits will be really key. That when they do turn the puck over or you take it away in your defensive zone, that they don't get another chance, another possession to keep that offensive pressure up and wear you down.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see what you think about this, but besides turning the puck over and getting the power play going, obviously, is there anything else you think that the Flyers need to do to secure a Game 7 win?
I think it's I think they need to be physical. I think in the last two games, I've seen them be a lot more the aggressor when it comes to physical play. And that's not like old school, like fight or anything like blow guys up. But to me, it's really following through with your checks. I see sometimes where they kind of, they'll hit a guy, but there's no, like Peter Laviolette used to say, don't hit the guy, staple the guy to the boards and lay on him. So you hit the guy, then you just kind of drape your body on him, wears guys down. Do a little bit more of that. That will also slow them down, especially when they're in the offensive zone, because that guy can't return as an option for the forechecker cycle by doing that. So I think they need to be physical. They need to initiate contact. And I think you need to be rough with Barzal and Beauvillier. I thought they were really rough with Barzal in the last two games. You saw Provorov kind of throw him around a little bit. Niskanen as well, like getting on him. And he's a smaller guy, incredibly talented and dynamic and a great skater. Be rough with him. I think you can frustrate him that way. So I think that's a big key to it for sure for me.
All right, Jason, before we wrap this up and get your final predictions, we have a question in the comments from Prince. Are the Flyers a scoring team or are they an opportunistic team? And can they win that way? So he's basically asking, are the quick goals because of their offense or bad Islanders defense when turning the puck over?
Well, first of all, what's going on, PB? That's my boy, Prince Blue, real Prince Blue. Are they? Can you put that question back up? I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Are the Flyers a scoring team? They haven't been in the regular season. They were seventh in the NHL in scoring during the regular season in goals per game, 3.78. And they didn't have any problems. The power play was, I think 12th or 13th in the league. They've been an opportunistic team because they haven't owned the puck like the Islanders have at points in the series. Now there's been points in the second game in Game 4 where they outshot the Islanders 17-3 in the second period, but only got a goal out of it. But they've been opportunistic at important times. Look at the Raffle goal in Game 6 to tie it at 3 when they went down 3-2. Look at the Lawton goal in Game 6 to tie it at 4. Those are big goals. Tonight, the team, somebody said this to me on the radio today. I forget the actual number, but the team that scores first in a Game 7 wins it like 78% of the time. That's crazy. That's a huge number. But in this series, these teams have kind of defied it. Like Barry Trotz's teams, if you have a lead in the third period, they usually don't lose.
Yeah.
Flyers done it a couple times, so it's pretty nuts. But he says, are the quick goals because of their offense or Bad Isles defense? No, there's not much Bad Isles defense. That doesn't really exist. Yeah, I mean, the Isles defense is tremendously structured. They're not a great blue line, and they will turn pucks over. They were 27th in the NHL and turning the puck over in their own zone. You can bang them and force turnovers. But F1's got to do his job and really get on his ass and get in there and be that first guy on the puck and the man. But so no, I don't think it's poor defense. You look at the Flyer goals; they've been pretty good execution. Like I love the first goal the Flyers scored in Game 6. Haig reads the play. I thought he played really well too. Reads the play, forces the turnover in the neutral zone, waits for his guys to get onside. Just slots a little pass over to Travis Konechny. But what Haig does after that is what makes the goal possible. As soon as he dumps the puck off to his right to Konechny, he doesn't just stand there. He beelines it for the crease in the blue paint. And by doing that, that grabbed the Islanders defenseman that was on the left side and sunk him back towards the net. So Konechny makes a little pass to his left to Kevin Hayes. And because Haig went to the crease, and the Islander defenseman had to go with him, now Hayes has all the time in the world, and he buries a freaking beauty over the blocker of Varlamov. And it was, to me, the play that was the key to that sequence was Robert Haig with the turnover, the patience, and then going to the net and reading the play absolutely appropriately and he causes that goal. And Hayes is, the finish was great, and the pass from Konechny was great. It was just a good offensive play. So, what up, BB?
All right, Jason. Well, before we let you go, first, thank you for coming on. But I'm putting you on the spot here. Flyers Islanders Game 7. I know what you want to happen, but what are your final predictions? Who needs to step up, and will this game be won in the neutral zone tonight?
No, this game is going to be won or lost in the Flyers' defensive zone with the ability for zone exits. Neutral zone's important, of course, but okay, you had 3 questions there. Take them again.
Final predictions. Do the Flyers get to their first?
Oh, and who needs to step up? I'll get to that before the prediction.
Do they get to their first Eastern Conference appearance in a decade?
Well, number one, as far as who needs to step up, Carter Hart goes without saying. The goalie always does, and he's always an X factor, so we can exclude that. But to me, the guys that need to step up are the guys like Kevin Hayes, like Claude Giroux. Look out for James Van Riemsdyk. When he gets hot scoring, he'll go through 9 games in a regular season and not get a look, and then he'll go through a 7-game stretch and he'll have 8 goals. So he's a guy. I think he's important in this game as well. But to me, the other guys that need to step up, Provorov and Niskanen, that's obvious. But Sanheim and Myers need to be a lot better in this game. And if they are, that leads to zone exits being clean. That leads to a lack of turnovers in the D zone. They drive offense too, the two of them. To me, they're a huge component. But, I mean, in a game like this, you got to look to your best players. They got to lead the way. Giroux was fantastic in Game 6. It was the best hockey game I've seen him play in a long time. And I know he only had 1 assist, but if you look at all the little elements and the things he did in that game, he was physical. He was down below the goal line, picking up the responsibilities because Couturier was out, playing a full 200-foot game. But those guys need to lead the way. They get paid the big bucks for a reason. It's Game 7. Yeah, there can be an unlikely hero. It could be, Nate Thompson could score, or maybe Oscar or whoever. But we'll see. But those guys need to lead the way. They need to be the ones. They were a big part of the reason why they're here. They need to be the ones to finish the job. As far as the prediction goes, oh man, I'm terrible at predictions.
Well, I'll give you PBs first.
4-3, and we're all having heart attacks. Is it an overtime? I bet you PB is saying overtime too. Be the first time since 1951 a team advanced or won a round in the playoffs, and all their wins came in overtime.
Please God,
the Leafs did it in the final against Montreal, won it 4-1. Every game in that series was in overtime. Let's go for some overtime magic again tonight. OT, okay, I'm with them. I'll go 4-3 in overtime as well. My overtime winner. How about this? I'll go overtime winner on a rare overtime power play from a guy who hasn't scored in the bubble, in Travis Konechny.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. What's the combined odds on that parlay? That's got to be plus 1,800.
A lot.
All right, man. Well, thank you for taking the time and coming on after your show today. And go Flyers. Yeah, boys. Enjoy the game tonight. Everybody have a good time. Have a couple cocktails. I think that power drinking, you can start drinking now. 4:30 in 2 minutes, you can start drinking.
Yep.
Power drinking for everybody can start at 6:30, like really kind of going hard, and you should be buckled by the second period. So enjoy the game. What if it started now? Yeah, you can start now. You just can't power drink yet. All right, man. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, boys. Have a good one. Jason Myretetus, everybody. Flyers 4-3 win in overtime to go to the Eastern Conference Finals. George, before we wrap up our Phaithful Fanatics pregame show, I got to get your opinions on some of the things he had to say and your final predictions.
Let's go final prediction first. I think it's going to be a nail biter. I'm going 3-2 Flyers. We'll see if it's an overtime, but we'll find out. I liked a lot of things he said. He was the one thing about how I agree with him that Varlamov.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I also agree that I would start Varlamov tonight if I were the Iowa. So I'm still kind of curious what Trotz is going to do. So that's because the whole time when he said that, I don't really understand putting Greiss in that situation. Like, Varlamov is just a better goaltender, and it's Game 7. Greiss isn't as good as him. So I'm curious to see what they do with that. And slowing down Barzal is the big thing, and that's what he said. You have to be physical with him. And then he brought up that Laviolette quote, you got to staple him to the boards, don't just hit him. And yeah, if they can slow down Barzal, that brings so much more confidence into the Flyers and into us. So we'll see.
Yeah, Jason went with Prince's prediction of 4-3 overtime. I'm going with George's prediction of 3-2, maybe 4-2 if it's an empty net goal. That's the only way they're getting 4.
Mm-hmm.
I think Carter Hart. I think kind of what I've been going to is as good as Carter Hart has been. What do you have? 49 saves, a career high in Game 6, after standing on his head. But he stood on his head, and the Islanders still put 4 pucks in the back of the net.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if there's tonight is the night for Carter Hart to literally steal a game. Not like he's kind of stolen games 5 and 6, and they've been putting pucks in the back of net. I'm expecting you 1 or 2. I'm going to say 2 because holding the Islanders to just 1 is very tough. But I want to say 3-2, 4-2 Flyers win with an empty net goal. I agree with him. JVR has been fantastic since he was in and out of the lineup in the Montreal and earlier in this series. He's got his big boy pants on.
Yeah, and I loved him talking about how Drew really did have probably the best game of the playoffs last game because
I'm so over people getting on him.
I know a lot of people like to talk about Drew, but it's not just about the points. Like it's the little shit that he did last game. It was just incredible. He took over for that Coots role, so I'm excited. It's gonna suck without Coots. Obviously, it's gonna be scarier. We're not as good without Coots. Coots is arguably our best player. That's just a fact. So. We'll see. I mean, I'm confident, though. I'm very confident.
What I want to say about everyone all the Claude Drew haters out there before we end this show is everyone wants him to put the puck in the back of the net. That's just not yes, he does need to on occasion, and he's a 20-plus goal scorer a season.
That's not his only job.
But he's not a premier goal scorer. He's not a sniper. He's a playmaker. It's what he's been in his entire career. And at a certain point 2 games ago or 3 games ago, when the Flyers had 18 total goals in the postseason, he was on the ice for 11 of them. No, he didn't have 11 assists, but he was on the ice for 11 of 18 goals. He is a playmaker for his teammates, and he will put the puck in the back of the net, and I think he gets another one tonight.
I love to hear it.
So thank you guys for watching. Go watch. We'll be back with Phaithful Fanatics at 6 p.m. this Thursday. And go Flyers.
Win.
Yeah, hopefully we're talking about a couple Eastern Conference playoff games by the time we get to our next show. But have a great night, everybody. Go Flyers. And 6:30 power drinking start as Jason.
Power drinking. Go Flyers.